All right, as people come in, I'm the room manager and a board member for Broadleaf. My name is Will Young. You are here for Ann Hite's workshop. So we are encouraging people to utilize the chat and, throw questions and engage in the program for how to write a haunted story with depth and layers. If you are, just also to make sure that you are in the right panel. I'm going to pop out very momentarily. There's the chat. There's also a Q&A for you to sort of engage with the program. I'm going to do a quick introduction from the program, and then I'm going to get out of everyone's way. Ann Hite's Ghost on Black Mountain won Georgia Author of the Year and was shortlisted for the Townsend Prize in 2012. Her novel Sleeping Above Chaos was Georgia Author of the Year 2017 finalist. Roll the Stone Away became Georgia Author of the Year 2021 honorable mention in memoir. And now I am going to vanish and just turn it over to Anne.
Okay, well, I'm excited about teaching this class. I wish we could actually talk to each other, but I do want you to give me your feedback in the chat, or if you have questions, and I'll try to keep an eye on it. I thought I would talk first a little bit about the book that I just had come out, which is Haints on Black Mountain, and it's a haunted short story collection. So each story has at least one ghost in it, if not more. But how this book came about was I wrote a memoir. Anybody that was in the last session with about family dynamics heard me talk about that, and it just nearly gutted me. It was a tough thing to do, and I promised myself I wouldn't have to ever do that again. But with that done, I wanted to do something fun. So I didn't even think about this actually turning into a book. And I went on to Facebook and I went on to Facebook and Instagram and said to my readers, we're going to do something kind of cool. I'm going to give you a question. You answer it about, however you want to answer it, but you have to use 3 sentences. And then I will pick the ones, the submissions that I really like the best, and I'm going to use them as a writing prompt to write short stories. So the first question was about the wind, and I can't now remember exactly what I said about wind, but and I said, 3 or 4, no more than 3 sentences. And the rule I set up for myself was I couldn't go back and ask them any other information. I had to stay with just the 3 sentences that they gave. So I had an overwhelming response. It was crazy. I had to turn down some, that I really liked, and I shelved them for later. But and it ended up turning into a book because my publisher really loved it. My editor, he loved it. He said, let's do that because I think it's going to be interesting. And so the book is short stories, and but above each short story is the actual prompt that caused me to write it. So I thought I'd just read a teeny paragraph to you from the actual story and read the prompt. And this one I picked was, I think, the second short story. Is called The Root Cellar, and it is set in 1898. And the prompt was, the wind trained through the building. Crying, we held on to the sides of the bathtub, me, him, and our 2 cats. I can still see the terror in the face of the man who is never afraid. And that was by Bridget Firelight. And she's in another state. I can't remember now what state. And so here's the first couple of paragraphs from that. Love can be blind. That's what the old women in my family always say. And Lord, I should have listened, but I can't only speak for myself in saying girls never listen to their mamas and grandmamas when it comes to the subject of men. We think we know everything. Carl Riley was the most handsome boy this side of Asheville. Not that I went to Asheville much. He was smooth speaking and strutted like a rooster in the hen yard. So that is how it started, because I immediately saw this couple that start when they're young and go through, just from reading what her prompt was, and go through their family, and it went from there. So writing prompts to me are really important. I'm sure there's, and I'm going to try to keep up with the chat, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that like to use writing prompts. So I thought that's what we would do today. Let's start off with a writing exercise. I hope everybody has. Can you let me know if you have a way of writing? And we'll see how this works. If you can just write in the chat that you're able to write, or you can think about what. Let's see. Yes. Okay. Good. Perfect. All right. That's great. Okay. I just want to make sure, because I don't want to be up here giving you writing prompts and then and you just have to sit there and be bored. Okay. The first writing prompt I'm going to get we're going to take 6 minutes with it. I want you to write 5 sentences about a legend in your family. It could be a story of surviving a storm. Your family could have survived the Depression, a car wreck, anything that speaks to you that's a legend. I'll give you an example. In my family, the big legend was my mother was born on Christmas Eve. It almost replaced, the baby Jesus story that we had every year. My mother was born on Christmas Eve. She was several months. My grandmother was 6 months pregnant, and she kept her alive. She was able to keep her alive. She was born at home up in Appalachia, because that's where all my family was from. And she heated up bricks and put my mother wrapped her up and kept her in her homemade incubator and fed her with an eye dropper. Those were the things that my brother and I would roll our eyes and say, here comes the story again, So anything like that, any kind of legend, go for it. But I'm going to give you 6 minutes, and then we're going to talk about what you have written. Okay. All right. We are finished. You can stop writing now. Now, in a perfect way, I would have you, some people read their pieces. I don't think we can do that. So what I thought I'd do is talk about how I came to write ghost stories, and like writing ghost stories. I started when I was probably around 9 or 10, and I came back from living in Germany to live with my grandmother, who was from Appalachia. And she had come to Marietta, and she would tell you that she escaped Appalachia. And she would say that what I did is making it sound a better place than it was. But anyway, we would go once a month to visit my, hold on, let me see, and once a month to visit. Oh, okay, that's cool. Okay, I see where they're saying that you can share it tonight, and I will be there, and I want to hear it. So you guys share tonight. That'll be so much fun. But anyway, we went to Appalachia to visit my great aunts, and that was like totally culture shock for me to go visit my aunts. It was a whole nother world to come to Marietta. Okay, but then to come to Appalachia was crazy. It was crazy. So it taught me a lot. And one of the things, I give you an example that the language was just completely different. And my aunt had told me one when I first came on, like the first or second visit, she said, "Hey, go in there in the kitchen." And she was my Aunt Stellar, but really her name was Stella, but everybody said Stellar. And she said, "Go in the kitchen and get that poke off the table." And I thought, "Oh, what is a poke?" Because I don't know what a poke is, And I looked at my grandmother, and my grandmother said, "It's a bag. Go get the bag off the kitchen table." And so I slowly began to learn. I also watched my grandmother, who had pretty much washed all Appalachia out of her. I mean, when she spoke, she did not speak, with slang or anything like that. And yet, when she came up to visit her sisters, she would turn into this person that used a whole different language to me. And like I said, and she would tell ghost stories, and she would dip snuff, which I just thought was the horriblest thing that was ever in the whole wide world. And I saw her completely transform. And it was interesting to me. I began to observe. I think I was always going to be a writer, but I think part of me started to learn to be a writer by being in the room with these people. And so I would be really quiet, sit off to the side, and the quieter you are, they forget you're there, and they tell the real stories. And they fully believed in ghosts. Most people you meet from Appalachia, not all of them, are, you know, very open to ghosts, that even if they haven't seen them, they're open to the stories that other people told. So I began to tell ghost stories. And my brother, who is 7 years younger than me, he was terrified of everything. He was one of those, I was brave and he was terrified, and he was terrified of an old show called Lost in Space. And some of you guys may have heard of it. And so we weren't allowed to watch it. I couldn't watch it on Saturday nights because he was terrified of it. And if you've ever seen it, you'll understand how stupid that was. And so I would sit him on the back stoop of our house and tell him ghost stories that I was going to write down. And he would get terrified, and my mother would yell at me and tell me I couldn't tell ghost stories anymore, and those kind of things. And so it just became even more, because, you know, we don't listen to our moms. And so it became more of a thing for me. And I began to tell short stories. I mean, short stories, tell ghost stories. So ghosts, the kind of ghost stories that are in Appalachia is what appealed to me, not some of the other stuff that happens now, but there's very little that scares me because of that. So I thought I would let you know kind of my background of how I came to using ghosts in my work. I mean, a ghost most of the time will appear when in my books, when something's about to happen, it adds to the tension. They're most of the time coming to tell someone or warn someone of something, but sometimes they can be not so nice. There's a lot of haints in my stories too. So let's do another writing prompt, and then we're going to take another 6 minutes to do this. And I want you to take the sentences that you wrote, and I hope you kept it at 5, because that's the challenge of it. Take the sentences that you wrote and do the beginning of a ghost story. Okay, so if you don't like ghosts, you could make them nice ghosts. Most of Appalachia ghosts, when they tell stories, they're not mean and terrible, but there are some. And then we'll get together. Also, I'd like to I'm going to have some questions for you when we get through with this writing prompt, to see how, what you thought about it. So I'm going to set the timer. Okay. Now, what I want you to do, I want anybody that would like to share the first sentence. And I say the first sentence because the beginning is always the the best, you know, that's what you draw the people in, you draw your reader in, is that beginning sentence. You draw the editor in that you want to sell the story to, you know, that kind of thing. So let's have anybody that would like to share um, the first sentence of what they've written. Why don't we do that in the Q&A? So, and then I'm reading some of this on here. This is so good. And share it in the Q&A, and I will read them out loud. So don't share it if you don't want it read out loud. And I would really love to see some of the first sentences that you did. And while everybody is doing that, because I know everybody's going to do it, I'll read the first sentence of this book of Haints on Black Mountain. And so this isn't the writing prompt. This is the actual story. That the first short story is Wrinkle in the Air. It's 1835. And just for some background, for you guys and how we can use our families and stuff, I had found out that my second great grandmother was a full-blooded Cherokee, and she did walk the Trail of Tears. And when I got this particular prompt, I was like, oh, I could write something about Polly. Her name was Polly Murphy. And so this is the first sentence of it. Souls have always wandered the thick forest of Black Mountain. And that's the first sentence of the book. Souls have always wandered the thick forests of Black Mountain. So immediately I'm telling people, you know, this is going to be kind of a little bit of a scary thing. Maybe not. You know, there's all kinds of souls. There's live souls, and you know, that kind of thing. So, but it gives you some ideas of what you can do and how you can draw. And most of the time, first sentence comes to me naturally, but sometimes I have to actually work on it. Okay, from Nancy Dunn, I can clearly remember Mama setting the wards around the house. Okay, I like that. That's intriguing. I can clearly remember Mama setting the wards around the house. Very good. And then Anonymous is when the moon is new and rain threatens to fall, when icy fog rolls in and thunder punctuates the darkness, I hear her. Ooh, I do like that. Everybody think about it, because I'm going to ask you some questions about these that I'm reading. Then from Donna Little, it says, my grandfather always said his father left Ireland with a price on his head. Okay, that's great first sentence, because you're setting me up. I want to know, what was the price on his head? You know, they were in Ireland. Maybe I didn't knew that, but I didn't know a whole lot about him. So those are good questions. That's I mean, good answers to it are good first sentence. Zach, and I don't know how to pronounce your last name, and I apologize for that. This one is George examined the hole in the floor. God, I love that. That is too perfect. That's really good. I like that. And Daryl Grizzle, I know Daryl, he wrote, I love that the old house by the lake. If it hadn't been haunted, my grandparents might never have sold it. Ooh, oh yes, I like that. That, you know, that appeals to me because I am a big haunted house person. I like that. Very good. So now I want that, it's just perfect. I want to talk about Nancy's. When I read her sentence, I know you guys didn't sign up to have it read again. I can clearly remember Mama setting the wards around the house. There's a question I want to ask you. What do you know? I mean, what will happen next? What will happen next as a reader? Because that's what the reader's thinking. What will happen next? You guys put some answers in the chat, or however you want to do it in the chat or the Q&A. Put some answers in there so that we can talk about, you know, what she's intriguing you to. What's going to happen next? I know somebody's got an answer that they want to write in there. Let's see. What will happen next? Let me think about what I think will happen next. I think that, I'm looking to see, so I'm sorry if I seem distracted. I am. First of all, I want to know what wards are, and what I can clearly remember Mama setting the wards around the house. Okay. What are wards? That would be my question for that one. I really like it because it intrigues me. Let's see. And somebody said the demon will get past the wards. Okay, so you can tell that I don't know what this is. I love that. I love Donna Little knows what it is. And why is she setting the wards? We need to find out exactly. And she had a reason for the wards. Very good. And maybe a warning about the day the wards failed. Very good. And what were the wards protecting them from? Okay, so I'm assuming I'm going to answer my own question that wards are a protection against demons and bad things. We would in like that, spirits, bad spirits, and that kind of thing. In Appalachia, we would say that we were conjuring, conjuring. Yes, because somebody said maybe the narrator character helped mix the herbs for the wards. Okay, so we would call that conjuring in Appalachia. So they made conjurers to go around the house to protect them. I love it. I love it. That's so good. Very good. So everybody expects to find out why, in the next sentence, why. Okay, so let's go to the next one. An anonymous wrote, when the moon is new and rain threatens to fall, when icy fog rolls in and thunder punctuates the darkness, I hear her. What do you think is going to happen next? and let's see, what do you think is going to happen next? Let's see. What does she sound like? Okay, and who is she? Very good, Zach. A storm's going to roll in, someone said. An explanation of her. Very good, Jessica. What does she sound? I said, what does she sound like? And who is she? We should hear her voice. Yes. And who is she and why now? Very good, Jessica. Nancy said, I want to know why those things help the narrator hear her. How are they connected? Very good point, Nancy. Very good. And dialogue of what she said. Yes. How did her voice sound? I think somebody said that. Yes. She will go outside into the night to find her. Very good, Donna. That's good. She is the wind, and I like that. So there's a lot of response to that one. I like it. I like it a lot. It's very spooky the way that it's written to begin with, and then those are the things that I would want to know. All those. My expectation is I'm going to learn a story about who I hear. Maybe she is part of the wind, but why is she there? And how is she tied to the narrator? Who is she to the narrator? That would be Also something I expected to find out. Okay. Donna said, my grandfather always said his father left Ireland with a price on his head. What do we think is going to happen next? What do we expect to happen? What's the expectations for that? Let's see. Let me get back into chat. All right. What do we think? I think I want to know the story. I expect to find out how the grandfather had a price and why he had a price on his head. You know, so other people are saying the story of how he got the price on his head. Yes. Is the grandfather going to be followed? Yes, that's good. An explanation of the grandfather's life. That's good. What did he do to get the price? That's Justin, that's really a good question. You expect to find that out. I would too. I do too. What does that tell us about the great grandfather's personality? That's interesting. I like that one. Does that set the stage for a tumultuous family? And I think it does. That's very good. That's very good. And did he escape truly? That's Jessica. Did he kill someone, or was he accused of killing someone? Nancy said, I think the grandfather might be a ghost, and we can ask him now about the price. But I like ghosts. I do too. I think that's cool. Was he a mild-mannered man in America later in life, or is this a setup for him as a villain? He's a werewolf, Jessica said. I like that. He's not a ghost, he's a werewolf. That's very good. Can't be both, I don't think. I don't think he can be a ghost, a clone, sure he can, okay. I love it. I love it. Oh, this is fun. Okay. The next one is George examined the hole in the floor. Okay, guys, what is your expectation for George examined the hole in the floor? That I love. It's like Poish, something. There's a body. Very good. There's a creature in it. How did the hole get there? Okay, good, Christy. Is it hiding something? Okay. All right. So those are the expectations of that. And that's a really good first sentence. It really is. He reaches into the hole. Oh, he's braver than me. Cosmic portal. Oh, I like that. I like that. And time travel thing. I'm a big time travel person. Never do that. Okay. All right. This is fun. I was worried about how this was going to work, but we're doing good. Okay. And the last one is Daryl's, and it said, I loved that old house by the lake. If it hadn't been haunted, my grandparents might never have sold it. Okay. So what's the expectation for Daryl's? Let's see. What is the expectation? I expect to find out how it was haunted. Did the narrator know how it was haunted? There's a lot of people chiming in on this one, so let's go look at that because they're going by so quick I can't read them. Let's see. He says we're going to get the haunted house story. There you go. I sure hope so. He bought it. Is it? That's a good one, Justin. He bought the house that's haunted, even though he knew it was. Is it because everyone knew it was haunted, making it impossible to sell? That's good. Discovered the story behind why it was haunted. Who haunts it? Very good, Jessica. Why did he love it if it was haunted? That's a good question. That's good. We need to know that. There is some kind of family secret that caused the haunting and must be discovered. Very good, Donna. And what haunts it, a person or a murdered family. And then Daryl said, I don't think the ghost was evil in any way, but my grandmother still didn't want to live in a house she said was haunted. I never saw the ghost myself, but my mama heard it once walking around at night when no one else was in the house. So gone. That's good. That is really good. The buyers come to find the grandson and they're not happy. Are his family the haunts or the haints? I know that you're trying to put haints. Did the neighbor make it seem haunted it so that they could buy it cheap? That's good. Daryl's unusual descent into madness. Okay. And it was grandmother's ex-lover. Just kidding. I kind of like that though. Let's see. I didn't want to. Oh, you didn't, by saying haints. Okay. I like the ex-lover idea. Me too, said Christy. Okay. Very good. All right. So we covered all of that and see how much fun that was. And that actually is, I would love to say that I came up with the idea to do that. But let me get the book so I can show it to you. I use this in my class when I teach my fiction master class. And it's Swim in the Pond in the Rain by George Saunders. And it's absolutely wonderful. He takes several short stories and after you read them, you ask these questions of yourself about your experience reading them. It's really helpful for the author to hear the answers to the questions, the answers to the questions, because the reader will see things in your work that you don't necessarily see, and their expectation may be something that you hadn't planned on. So it's a really good tool for that too, especially on longer pieces. And needless to say, if if we had more time, I would take and have longer pieces that we did this with. Okay, so we got some good pieces going here, and I thought that I would read from the same Haints on Black Mountain, the haunted short story collection. There is an untold story, and this is the first sentence from it. I thought I'd share with you. Mama thought I was asleep in my bed, but not one part of me was tired. So that kind of sets up the whole thing about this particular story, and as the secrets that we keep and that kind of thing. All right. Now let me see what time it is, because I'm keep the time. Okay, we got 15 minutes because I want time for questions and that kind of thing. Let's do one more. Write 4 sentences, and we're going to make this 4 minutes. Write 4 sentences about either your great grandmother or your great aunt or your great grandfather, something like that, or your great uncle, whatever. It could be great. Do write 4 sentences about them. Okay, I'm going to give you 4 minutes to do that. Okay, let's see what we have now. Okay, my question for what you've written with these 4 sentences is, how can you use this person in the story that you've begun from the other writing prompts? So if you want to answer that question, that'd be great. I won't make you post anything else that you've written, but how can you use the person that you've written about? First of all, tell me who you wrote about, whether it was your great grandmother, great aunt, whatever, and how can you use them in there? Let's see. So, and Kristen says, interesting. I was already talking about my grandmother in the earlier prompts. Very good. So it worked out. Very good. That works out great. Because most of the time you're going to have somebody from your family in your mind when you're writing, whether you're writing a ghost story. I just happen to love to write ghost stories. And my ghosts can be very helpful. They can be mean, but they're ghosts, but they can be characters too. And so how can you use, she's already chose to use her grandmother. So it worked out wonderful. How can you use one of these characters that you just now wrote 4 sentences about in the story that you're writing? I don't see anybody answering. Let's see. Okay. Donna said, I realized from doing this that there is a story there that I do not know, and I can either research it, always meant to, or make something up. Yep, you can do either one. Because just because you research it and you know exactly what's happening, in fiction, you sometimes change it because you want to go with the story. And Jessica said, I wrote about my great grandmother who had the reputation as a witch. She was an herbalist. Now, in Appalachia, we call those granny witches, or so they're very accepted. But I could use her as a sort of helpful, if not cantankerous, guide. And granny witches are always cantankerous. So that's very good. I like that. I like it. Nancy said, I wrote about my great grandmother, who I imagined wanted to travel beyond North Georgia mountains, but ended up teaching her daughter, the mama in the previous prompt, how to set wards. But why didn't she leave? And that's the story, is it not, Nancy? That's the story. Wart cunner is a great word. I love that. Yes, that is a great word. That is a great word. Okay. Now we're closing down on, let's see, we've got about 10 minutes left. Let's see, do you have any questions? Anything you want to talk about? Any questions you want to ask? It doesn't have to be about ghosts or what we're doing right now. I hope that everybody will kind of tinker with this and come back at 5 and read it, because I'm going to definitely be there so I can hear, oh yes, I'll hold it up again. Sure. Are we talking about the George Saunders book? Okay. All right. He's a really great, and let me tell you, he's a resource. I love his work. He wrote Lincoln in the Bardo, and he's just absolutely, but he has a newsletter that you can read, and you can you subscribe to for free. But if you want to do his $6 a month, he works with you on stories, not your stories, but he'll give you a story to read, and then the next week he works through how this particular story, what was the expectations in it, the whole, it's well worth $6 a month. And I subscribe to it because it's very, very helpful. And especially when you're writing short stories. Also, there's Wiley Cash, and I don't know, I'm sure everybody here's heard of Wiley Cash. And he has his is, I'm trying to remember, but it's just wileycash.com. And you go, and he has a workshop that he does once a month. You pay $10 a month, and he writes, it's an essay. He also he interviews someone on YouTube that's very helpful. And this is the best part. Once a month, you all get together and you talk about craft and that kind of thing. And it's just absolutely amazing. And they're so reasonable. I mean, so his is really set up like a workshop, and he'll give you assignments to work on, and then you can go and talk about them. He also gives you a book to read. So it's well worth your time to do it. I do that one too. authors never stop learning. I love to learn about the craft. So, we never stop learning. I'm making sure that I don't have any extra questions. Let's see. And if everybody needs to look in here and see what Daryl said about his and what he has written in here is really good. But if you've got a question that you want to ask me before we head out, you can. Yes, and you can also subscribe to Wiley with it for free. And there's a cheaper version too. I just really like the $10 version, and it's well worth it to me because he keeps me motivated, and he's very you can get to him if you email him and ask him a question about the assignment or whatever. He wants to hear from you. I mean, he's always right back, and so it's worth your time taking a look at it. If nothing else, just take a look at it and see what you think. I mean, I don't know him personally, so I'm not, trying to get you to this is not somebody I know personally. I just get a lot out of it. He keeps my work flowing. He helps me keep my work flowing, because we all get to those places where we're going, I want to do something different, or, it's just kind of stale right now. And so, you can do the free versions, and you can do the paid versions. It's real worth the time. So let's see. I'm trying to see if there's any more questions. I don't see any questions. We're getting close to time, I think, right? Yep. So we got 2 minutes. It was so good to do this, and I hope it came off okay, because I normally do this in person, and so we interact a lot more, but I felt like we interacted pretty good here. And I enjoyed reading your stuff, and I hope you read from 5 to 5 to I'm reading I'm sorry, I'm stumbling. I'm reading everybody's comments and I'm loving it. That you come from 5 to 7, because I really want to hear you read your stuff out loud, and put a face with the name. So it's been great, and I had a good time, and hey, we will see each other from 5 to 7. Okay, thanks.